This is Athletics After Dark, an Oakland A's podcast with your host, Dale Tafoya.
I would like to invite no stranger to Oakland A's fans to the inaugural podcast of AthleticsAfterDark.com. Since taking over the A's general manager position in 1998 at 36 years old, right, Billy? 36?
Yeah, but that seems about right. It seems like a long time ago. So I'll start revealing my age.
36 years old. A year later, in 1999, the A's were over 500 for the first time since 1992, and after that, in 2000. 4 consecutive playoff appearances, and including a wild card spot in 2001. And I always thought, Billy, that in 2001, I know the Mariners were playing out of their mind, but I think that was probably your most talented team you've ever assembled in 2001. How do you feel about that?
No question. In fact, I think that probably the 2001, and certainly in my lifetime and being around the A's, the 2001 team was only probably second to that 1989 team, which won the World Championship. And I think we knew at the time it was a team that, really had everything. We had power. We had some speed with Johnny Damon at the top. We had great starting pitching. We had an outstanding closer. It was young. And, there's no doubt that I think that was the most talented team. We were only able to keep him around for about a half a year because we lost a number of players through free agency. But there's no question, and certainly in my time, that was the best team we've had as far as having really not a whole lot of significant weaknesses. And
Billy, you're really known for pulling off some significant trades, and you always hear the question, "Where's the craziest place you ever had sex?" But where is the craziest place you've ever pulled off a trade?
Oh man, I'd have to think through. I think somebody said we made over 100 of them since I've been the general manager.
Right.
But there certainly have been. You know what? I think I don't know craziest, but I think when we were finishing up the Johnny Damon Johnny Damon deal back in '01, I remember it was just after Christmas vacation, but a significant part of that deal was made going to a ski slope with my daughter and my wife, and it was up in Lake Tahoe, and I remember most of that deal was done during that time there. We might have actually finished it when I got back into Oakland, but a lot of it was, I remember, being made on the way up to the ski slopes.
And that's where you got your Gold Glove, should be Gold Glove second baseman Mark Ellis during that deal, right? As well, right?
Yeah, and I remember that very, very well because at the time we were sending Angel Barreau, who was a outstanding shortstop prospect for us, and when we were trying to finish off the deal, we were concerned about losing a young middle infielder, so we were looking for somebody to replace him with. Even though he was at the time a level behind him. I think Mark had played at the high A level, and Angel, I believe, was at Double A, and as a way of finishing off the deal, we wanted a replacement for Angel in the system, and we got Mark Ellis, and we were familiar with Mark because we had tried to acquire him the previous year in spring training when he was at a lower level then, and so it was a guy that we liked, we'd followed, and at the time he was a shortstop too, so we just thought he was a good replacement. We also thought he had a chance to be a good major league player. As it turned out, we were right. Mark's had an outstanding career with us.
Right, and I got to ask you this question, Billy. What's it like to hang out and sip wine with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think he was working a little bit, but first of all, he's a great guy. And it's just like, I think, being with anybody else's, which is, I think, the sort of beauty of him. But he's about as nice as guy as you would want to meet, about as down-to-earth, given what he's accomplished. So, I consider myself lucky to have met him and, to know him. And for, like, once again, for a guy who's worldwide sort of superstar in his business, he's probably about as grounded as you would want to meet, and or as grounded as any person you want to meet. And as far as his partner. She's about as nice a lady and as you'd want to meet, and it seems to be a wonderful mother as well. We only briefly with her, but I've been able to spend a few times with Brad, and enjoyed every minute of it.
Now, there's been so much buzz about Moneyball. Of course, they were filming a few weeks ago back in Oakland, and fans were there as extras, and there's just a big buzz. And the movie, I guess, is scheduled to come out next year. And I don't know if fans really can comprehend and really know the significance of a baseball movie like this. You know, the big screen Hollywood covering a major league team such as the Oakland A's in Moneyball. And you personally, Billy, has the question of how in the heck will Moneyball change my life, or will it change my life? Has that question ever crossed your mind?
You mean the actual book, you mean?
The movie.
Oh, the movie. I guess I haven't thought about it that deeply. I think, if anything, it's really a testament to Michael Lewis as a great writer and a great author. I mean, he writes very entertaining stories, and he's extremely talented, and so I think as much as anything, it's really a result of his ability to just be a great writer. So, but as far as the movie, as you said, they've just finished in Oakland. I know they're down in Los Angeles shooting. It's been a little bit surreal, I think, for everybody, but I think people in the organization enjoyed the time that it was being filmed here, and enjoyed their interaction with the people that were making the movie, and the people who are making the movie were incredibly respectful. And I think at the end of the day, it'll be, if you're an A's fan, it'll be a lot of fun. And I think also, it'll probably be, some great publicity for a small market team here. So, we'll see when it comes out, but I know they're busy working hard on it. And, the best thing was that they weren't very intrusive at all, as I told them from day one, that,
right.
I had a day job, and one that was, took up a lot of my time, and they've been very respectful and very limited in how much they felt like they needed to contact me, and they only did when they absolutely had to. So I appreciated that, and I know everybody else in baseball operations did too.
Right, and there's just been so much misconception about your role in the Moneyball project. Of course, first, I'm sure you can agree with this, that you wrote the book, misconception number one, and maybe number two, that you bugged Michael Lewis and said, hey, I took the A's to two consecutive playoff appearances on the shoestring budget, write a book about me. But in reality, Michael Lewis, a business writer, a brilliant writer, was so fascinated about the story of the Oakland A's, he contacted the A's to initiate the book. How uncomfortable is it to deal with that misconception that, oh, Billy Beane told the world, hey, write a book about me?
Yeah, I don't spend a whole lot of time worrying about misconceptions, but I think you're pretty accurate, Dale, in describing it a little bit. I mean, I think Michael sort of stumbled upon the story by virtue of being in Berkeley at the time, while his wife was spending time over at Stanford. And initially, initially, I'm not sure I called him back. And as time went on, and he did spend some time with us, what turned out was originally going to be a newspaper article for him, ended up being something, far different. And so, but yeah, as far as misconceptions, I don't think anyone can spend the time trying to combat everything that everybody says or those misconceptions. So it's not that big a deal.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you've been a GM for 13 years, and let's talk about you as a GM. Is the competitiveness and hunger that you had back in, say, 1998, is it still there today in 2010, Billy?
Oh, always. I don't think you can do this job. It requires that. I think that certainly as you go along and you gain more experience, you get older. There's I think you also have to exercise a little more patience with things. But this job is meant for people who are competitive and not just on the field, but in the front office. So, I feel very fortunate. I love what I do. But the more you do this, and I saw it in Sandy too when he was here, is that you also see situations many times over and over again, and how you react to them are far different, say, in your 13th year than they would be in your first year. But yeah, you can ask my wife. coming home, the problem with this, and any sports exec would tell you that when you come home, your mood is usually dictated by how the team played that night, which is can be, you know, exhilarating sometimes and not so fun the other times. And the one thing about baseball is it's pretty much every single day from April all the way through September. And you know, you take the NBA where they're playing a couple of games a week, and the NFL where they're playing one game a week. That's a lot of mood swings. So, but you know, you learn how to sort of channel it and try and be productive and make sure that you're providing good leadership for the people that are around you, in good times and in bad. But you know, I feel fortunate and blessed that you know, I get to turn my passion into a way of making a living.
Right. You know, in 2006, Billy, the last time the A's made the playoffs, actually the ALCS. Ken Maka was your manager at the time, and shortly after the season, he was relieved of some duties. I guess there were some communication issues with some players and him. So during the offseason, you interviewed several managerial candidates, including Ron Washington and Bob Guerin. I believe he was your bench coach at the time. And you chose Bob Guerin, and Ron Washington went to manage the Texas Rangers. What made Guerin a better fit than Washington at the time, Billy?
Well, actually, that wasn't really chronologically how it happened. We were just starting our interview process, and Ron had interviewed with Texas, and Texas actually completed their search before we had really even. We were actually right in the middle of our interviews, so okay. They made the hire before we were even completed with ours. So it was never really. It wasn't. It wasn't. At the end of the day, when we finished all of the interviews, it wasn't a situation where that choice was available to us. But at the time, from Ron's end too, I mean, you know, it was a great opportunity. It was an up and coming organization, and there was assurances, you know, that were being given to him in the process far earlier than ours. And so, I mean, we're happy for Ron. I was the one who brought Ron over here back when Art first took over. We were teammates, and we remain very close today, and nobody's happier for his success than certainly I am. As I said, he's a guy that I've maintained contact with, and they've got a great organization, one that's you could see coming around the bend here the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, they spent a lot of money developing young players, and now you're seeing the fruits of their labor right now with their minor league system now coming up to the major leagues and doing what they're doing. Right,
and I know there's a lot have been made among fans, and I'm not sure you hear about this of, hey, Billy Beane and Bob Guerin are the best of friends and all those stories. I mean, you know, whether that relationship is the case. I mean, how hard is it to separate a friendship from, hey, you know, I'm your boss, Guerin, and just that whole personal relationship and professional relationship between the GM and the manager? What's it like?
Well, I think, first and foremost, we are very good friends, and we've been friends for a long, long time. And I'm not sure that's something that anybody should be embarrassed about in my position. That being said, Bob's about as professional a person as you'd ever want to find. And he and I both understand that there's a friendship off the field, and there's also, you know, the part where we have to run the business in our positions the best we can, notwithstanding the friendship. So, but it is kind of interesting that, you know, that in one case, allegedly here we weren't the best of friends with the managers. Now we are good friends with the managers. So I don't think you can sort of you're going to win either way. The bottom line is the best thing to do is win games. And you know, and I think Bob's done an outstanding job under probably the most difficult circumstances we've ever had here in this franchise's history. So you know, he's a hard worker. He knows the system up and down, and quite frankly, he probably would have been a major league coach here at an earlier time in his career had we not been friends. To be totally frank with you, but you know, he's had to go through a complete rebuild at a time when the economics in the game are getting more and more difficult for us, and he comes to work every day, and I've never heard one complaint about him or one complaint from him since he's taken the job. He loves every minute of managing this club.
Good deal.